Hello, everyone! I'm really excited for today's conversation. I'm delighted to welcome Zachary Hecht, Associate Attorney at Causey & Yee Law. Zachary clerked with the firm for nearly 2 years before joining as an associate. He also handles a lot of different widespread practice, from criminal defense and family law to immigration and business formation matters. It's great to have you here, Zach.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
Okay, so I want to first ask you, when you assumed your role at Causey & Yee, after a period of clerking for the firm, looking back, when did you first begin to feel the shift from doing the work to running the work? That is, thinking beyond the individual cases towards how the firm as a whole operates and scales.
Good question. Yeah, so I'd say maybe that's kind of been an ongoing process actually over the past couple of years. I think that first year after I took the associate attorney position, it was a lot of focusing on just learning and kind of just figuring out how stuff works, different cases work, that type of thing. I'm still doing that too, obviously. I think every good attorney feels like they're always learning something every day, or at least something from every case. And so I would say probably the past year or two is when I've really started to kind of expand my horizon with just figuring out how different cases that I take kind of fit into the law firm's practice and the business side of things.
Awesome. Your firm's website emphasizes a renowned, comprehensive law firm devoted to saving enormous time, effort, and cost for our clients. In your mind, what are the biggest bottlenecks today in delivering to that promise, both from the client acquisition side and the matter of execution side?
Yeah, so I would say that something that we always kind of have to tell our clients up front and remind them throughout the case is that the wheels of justice are slow, unfortunately. That's especially true in the criminal defense side of things. Um, those cases can drag on for months and possibly years at a time. So it's really important to kind of just remind the clients that their issues aren't going to be solved in one day or even 1 week or 1 month. It's kind of a ongoing process. I'd say that that's a big bottleneck is kind of just being confined in the type of case that is, with criminal defense. Obviously, for like say a civil litigation matter where there's a dispute and like a personal injury or something, that can kind of be slowed down significantly if you're working with a insurance claim adjuster, where they, have hundreds or thousands possibly of cases that they have to deal with. And so that's kind of just a matter of waiting until it's your turn. Obviously, we can kind of accelerate that process by being for lack of a better term, just bugging or annoying the, say, insurance claim adjuster or the prosecutor of the case and kind of just saying, like, hey, remember my cases here. Don't forget about us. Let's see what we can get figured out. And so I'd say, it's kind of just the nature of the business where things are kind of slow at times. Other times where we can be, be proactive. For example, with a criminal defense case, filing pretrial motions, motions to dismiss if the facts fit that, those types of things. And so I think that our law firm is really good about that, where we do focus on again, sorry for lack of a better term, but throwing punches rather than taking them. Just being proactive and figuring out ways to kind of push the envelope with our cases.
Is criminal defense sort of your niche then?
Yeah, I would say that's the area that I'm the most comfortable with, just because I've had so many cases. Starting out, what my managing partners really encouraged me to do was get a public defender contract with Polk County, which is where our law firm's located, is in Des Moines, which is Polk County. So I do a lot of court-appointed cases, and so back when my managing partner started out, which was 2014, they would get court-appointed cases where it would be like two, maybe every like month or every 5 weeks or so. And then when I was doing primarily misdemeanor court-appointed cases, I was getting 3 or 4 a week at times. And so that's just something that really accelerated my learning curve with that was just the amount of cases I was getting in that area of law.
Yeah, I mean, well, it sounds like that for the bond, like you mentioned, for criminal defense, for example, there are like three parts to that. It sounds to me that number one is really the client communication part to sort of keep them updated and to reassure them that it's gonna take a while, but we're doing our best and it's moving. And number two is sort of like laying out this roadmap of here are the major steps and the timeline of achieving each steps. And the third is really to be proactive and follow up at each step to achieve the next milestone. Like after how long it's going to be a red flag that you have to follow up, and at what time mark should we follow up to what party for the next milestone kind of deal.
Yeah, so I would say it's kind of depends on each case. Obviously, if it's a really serious offense, like a Class B felony or something like that, um, you there tends to be a lot of discovery or evidence that you have to review in those types of cases, and so then the major milestones are kind of like when you get that discovery, when you've actually had a chance to review all of it to try and figure out what exactly could the government prove in its case. And so you compare that with, say, like an OWI first or DUI. I don't know what the term is in Illinois, but just when somebody's driving while intoxicated. And so that tends to be a lot less evident. It tends to be more so like what the police officers observed, whether they did the field sobriety test correctly, those types of things. And so then, the major milestone isn't necessarily the discovery. It's more so, is there a suppression issue that we could raise where we're trying to keep this case from going to trial where we win a suppression issue and then the state decides to dismiss the case. And so it really depends on the type of case where these major milestones are. I think that's where the experience comes in, where you kind of recognize where that milestone is going to be at depending on what the case is.
You just recently handled a Class B case and actually had a pretty good settlement out of it, correct?
Yeah, we were representing a Chinese native who's here in the United States in the eastern part of Iowa, and she was running a massage spa, and so she was taken into custody and charged with a Class B felony. That seems to be a popular offense that prosecutors are charging now in these types of situations. It's ongoing criminal conduct or in furtherance of a criminal enterprise. And so a lot of times, it's a really serious charge. 25 years in prison is the maximum punishment for a Class B felony in Iowa. And so this recent case that we had, unfortunately, she didn't have the means to stay here, and so she's eventually deported. But we were able to get that criminal case dismissed. So there's at least that silver lining and out of that situation.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that is definitely a good outcome compared to 25 years in prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
other than criminal defense, your environment is multi-practice. It's not only criminal defense, it's immigration, family law, business law, and you're probably juggling very different workflows and client onboarding experiences. How have you designed, or how are you thinking about designing consistent pipelines across those verticals? And where does automation or tech play into that?
That's a good question. So, yeah, for example, today I was working on an eviction case. I was working on um, a personal injury case. I was working on a criminal defense case. And so it's really kind of tricky to kind of bounce between those three different areas of law and several others, like you mentioned before. And so I'd say, again, the experience kind of comes into that. I don't think as a first year attorney I could really be bouncing between those multiple areas, although I think that clerking at the law firm and working closely with my managing partners really helped me to kind of gain that experience even before I was officially an attorney. And so that's been very helpful. I would say that with automation, I think that that'd be very helpful for example, with Clio. That's a pretty common website used by attorneys to kind of track their billable hours and to create contacts or clients and then different matters associated with them because we use that a lot, which is really helpful, and that it can be helpful because it keeps the different matters separated. So we have several clients where we're representing them in immigration matters, and then we're also representing them in criminal matters, and or we're representing them in immigration matters, and then we're representing them in a personal injury case. And so that definitely helps it keep it separated and organized. I would say with automation or the potential of AI would just be being able to create those accounts and create those folders and files and everything by just putting a couple of inputs in rather than me having to go through the website, have to enter in the contact information for the client and those types of things. And I think that would really accelerate things and make it a lot more efficient.
Yeah, definitely the organization part to sort everything, to sort the information and to separate things, to compartmentalize different sectors. And well, when I look at automation for any business, law firms, in particular here, it's really two parts, the client acquisition part and the efficiency part for work. And it sounds like definitely document information categorization, but also I'm looking at this to see how we mentioned about how communication with the client, the status update, and the follow-up, the constant follow-ups, and the different setting of different milestones and follow-up, those eats up a lot of time when you as the attorney, probably the most valuable time used is for you to come up with the strategies of what would the milestones be. What are the trigger points? Like when we receive this type of document, we need to do what? To sort of strategically set up that flow and the milestones and let the rest be administratively automated. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that just an example on the top of my head would be, receiving medical records from a client that you're representing them in a personal injury matter. So, as soon as you get those medical records and you figure out what exactly their injuries were from, say, a car accident or something, then you can figure out, okay, well, that would fit into probably this amount that we can ask for settlement, and then I can get that settlement brochure drafted up and sent over to the insurance claims adjuster. And then, I'd say with automation, what would be really helpful would be, having an AI tool where you can just upload the medical documents to it because some of these are, hundreds of pages long. And so it's just time consuming to have to go through each individual page. And that's what you have to do so you don't make sure that you miss anything or anything like that. And so if we had an AI, a tool that could review all those and then kind of give me a summary. I mean, Chat GPT does that to a certain extent, but with a lot of those new cutting edge AI tools, still they have a lot of hallucinations and those types of things, and so you still definitely need to double check to make sure that it doesn't make any errors.
Yeah, it definitely. I know that most a lot of people now talking about is a sort of like a combination of like a structural coding of look at this column, look at that row, and the qualitative AI interpretation, but also putting human into the loop to have human to check each part of its thinking before it proceeds to the next step instead of a big black box to throw it in, come out, and we don't even know which part did they do wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the history of, a advancing technology where, instead of having like a law clerk go through and look through everything, we'll have AI do it, but, there'll still need to be human touch where we kind of double check, verify that everything's okay, and kind of just shifts what the job is rather than completely eliminating the need for a job. So,
Yeah.
I think that in that situation, like you outlined, it's not like just throw it into the box and then it'll just pop out and create what I want. It has to go through different steps, different in the algorithm, and we have to have people to kind of review it, attorneys to review it to make sure that it hasn't gone off the rails somewhere.
Yeah. And I mean that, the personal injury case that you mentioned, that ties a little bit into sort of the client acquisition part as well. Because I'm thinking that I like to think through like a client's journey. So if I got into an incident or something happened, malpractice or whatever, I'm injured, hurt, sitting on my couch, scrolling on my phone, and an ad pop up from Causey that says, do you have question about XYZ, about injury, about car accident, about malpractice, whatever, click into it, and it sort of answers your basic questions, but then prompt you to schedule a call. Now, the client's gonna have to talk to you, but give me 1 sec here. I don't know why that thing. Okay, the client's gonna have to talk to you, but between then and talking to you, you need to see the documents. So you probably want the documents to be already requested, received, and interpreted. And you will be able to see that. And then at that call, you will be able to sort of the settlement brochure that you mentioned, sort of have a draft of that to present to the client to even during that call. That sounds like a more efficient way of doing it.
Yeah, that would be insane. Just to compare to what we're at right now. That is a thing where it's like our receptionists, our staff at the firm do a really good job of talking with the prospective clients and figuring out what kind of facts that we need to gather in order to determine whether we think it's a good case to take or not before we even schedule the phone call with them. And so I think that obviously if we can make that automated, that would free up time for them to do other things, and it'd make things more efficient, like you said. That would be, but yeah, that would just be crazy to me to be able to, even before you meet with the client, just have like the documents and have a possible like settlement brochure all drafted up and everything. Like
Yeah, and
that
obviously the settlement
take
brochure.
months away.
Yeah, and obviously the settlement brochure is not automatically generated, already emailed to a client. It gives you different options. And it's not just different options of the entire brochure, but different options of each paragraph or each section for you to review. Every time you choose your selection, the system, you're training the system by by which one you're choosing for each section or each paragraph.
Hmm. Yeah, it recognizes the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of that though would be just a lot of law firms track billable hours, and that's how they bill their clients. And so, if you become so efficient that you're completely cutting hours of time out, then how are you gonna make that money back? Because maybe on one hand you can have more clients then, which would make up for that, but on the other hand, what if the clients aren't always there? So I think that's kind of the tricky kind of like balancing act that law
Yeah.
firms are going to be trying to figure out in the future.
We talked with a different, actually a different lawyer in Des Moines as well. And, during that conversation, we mentioned sort of two different ways that this is going to happen, in the law industry as a business. Um, some people are in the camp of billable hours dead. Everybody is just gonna pump out cases, and the flip side of that argument is the quality will go down. With the flip side is still supportive of billable hour. What they're saying is that the pie chart becomes different. I used to spend 10 hours. I still spend 10 hours, but now maybe the time that I used to review the documents or drafting the very very structured, very repetitive stuff. I'm using that to think about strategies, or to research more to find better arguments or better strategies. So there are those two camps, and obviously it's a whole spectrum, everything between. What do you think on that part?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it's really going to depend on the clients too, and types of cases. With a lot of our immigration cases, for example, we do a flat fee, so it doesn't even matter like how much time really that we spend on it. I mean, you don't want to spend so much time that it becomes not really profitable because your billable hour rate kind of goes down with that. But on the other hand, too, we have lots of cases where we still do billable hours, and so I think it'll really depend on the type of case and the whether the client is indigent or if the client is a private client. I don't anticipate. We're always going to have court-appointed attorneys for criminal defense cases as part of the Constitution, obviously, and so I think with those cases, I could see those remaining billable for the foreseeable future, but I could see more cases kind of going to that flat fee model where it's kind of like built in that there's an AI cost to it
Mm-hmm.
because they know that they're getting that efficiency, but like you said, the quality may suffer a little bit. So that'd be maybe another interesting solution is to have the client choose whether they wanted billable hours or flat fees, which it's, a lot of clients or prospective clients still kind of do that now. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's going to be undetermined for a while, and it's just going to get sorted out as AI continues to develop.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, by nature, some sort of immigration, you have to file a couple forms, and it's pretty standard, and it will make sense, to ask the client what's your story, and to fact check and cross check the stories for consistency, and then put them together and submit a form. And that makes sense to charge a flat fee, and some of them need more strategy time from very experienced attorneys, and for those in mind, warrants more billable or what. Among other cases that you've done, you already mentioned probably immigration cases are, they warrant more the flat fee strategy. What would you say on the flat fee versus billable hour spectrum, or the AI versus human work spectrum, each type of case stand?
Yeah, so I'd say like uncontested divorces would be probably another good flat fee option using AI. A lot of cases where the husband and wife want to get divorced, but only one of them can really afford an attorney, and they already have everything worked out in terms of like properties, settlement and child custody care and all that kind of stuff. And so in those situations, one of them will hire an attorney, and then we kind of just have a flat fee where we're just only representing the one spouse that hires us, but it's pretty straightforward to kind of just put what they want onto paper. For in terms of settlement with the property and settlement with the child custody rights, and so that'd be probably something that AI could pretty well do easily too. It's more so, like here in Polk County, a requirement is that the parents have to do the child in the middle course if they have children, and they also have to sign their kids up to do like a workshop on to learn about what divorce is and how it could impact them and that type of thing. And so, with attorneys, we kind of have to explain that to our clients and kind of show them where they can get all that signed up and everything. So, um, I'd say that uncontested divorces would be a really good use for a flat fee model with using AI to assist with that. I'd say some criminal cases too would probably be a good option with that. If it's a low level misdemeanor offense, we kind of already have used flat fees for that with I don't know if you guys have heard of ROG. It's like a benefit that employers can give their employees to help pay for legal matters and that type of thing. And so I take some cases where it's like a flat fee for a criminal defense case where if there's no trial, then it's like $500, but if there is a trial, then it's $1,000, and so that's a flat fee option. And I don't know how AI would work into that. Probably just reviewing the discovery and that type of thing. But in terms of like, I guess you can always use AI or ChatGPT to bounce ideas off of to see like what the holes are in your arguments and that type of thing. If you're proceeding to a trial on something, then you can kind of ask it like, what would be the downside to this argument, or what holes could the prosecutor poke into this argument. And so, yeah, I think there's a wide range of different, I don't think there's just one exclusive, like these cases only can be used for AI and flat fees, and then these cases, they're always going to be billable. They're always going to just be non-AI. I think that, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to be all on a spectrum.
Mm. And different work streams within the same type of case as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, let's shift to looking to the future. Suppose you have a switch and you flip it and you invest in a well-designed AI-enabled workflow for your client acquisition pipeline plus your internal operations, from onboarding through case management to resolution. What would that look like for you in 12 months?
Oh boy. So
And
yeah.
also, what would be different in how you spend your time, and what would your team be able to do that they can't do right now?
Mm-hmm. So I think those are all good questions. I would say that in my ideal world where, we have cutting edge AI stuff, like we have a breakthrough or something, would be where, for a private client, it's kind of like what David was mentioning earlier, where it's kind of like a chatbot function where we figure out, what specific type of case they're wanting. The chatbot or ChatGPT, AI, whatever, would get the pertinent facts from them, and then, and obviously, we'd be able to program like what those facts are that we think are important in that type of case. And then possibly maybe like background information about the, excuse me, about the prospective client, because that's something else that kind of goes into whether we think, okay, do we think that we'd be able to, have a billable hour case with this one, or do we think that it should be flat fee? Kind of just depends on also what their economic resources are. And so it'd be good to gather that kind of background information. Say it's an immigration case, it's like what country they're from, what kind of immigration services that they're looking for, those types of questions. And so it'd be nice to have that completely automated, then just be able to look at my schedule, see when I have available time, be able to schedule that consultation for me, give me like a brief summary of their case, the facts information that they gathered, and then after that, obviously sign the client, say it's for a criminal defense case, and having that service agreement drafted up already when I meet with them, so that way if they decide to hire me, then I can just give them that service agreement and we can get started. And then after that, it would be just reviewing the discovery, being able to do that for me, so that way it could tell me what exactly potential suppression issues are, if there's any, what the bad facts would be for my client's case. Like, did he say something that was self-incriminating? And then be able to tell me, was it when he was in custody and being interrogated? So that way it'd be a Miranda violation, those types of things. And then just being able to give me a summary of those things, good facts, bad facts. And then, I'd say that would be very helpful. Obviously, there'd be a ton of things to do with trial too. Being able to kind of give me ideas to start off with for an opening, for a closing, those types of things. What would be good questions to ask for voir dire, depending on what the case type is. So those are all functions that would be very helpful with AI. And then, this might be kind of a weird or random thing, but having to withdraw from the case at the end once it gets over with, usually it's just like a very simple motion, like this case is closed, please let me withdraw, and the judge grants it, 99 times out of 100. And so that'd be nice to have that automated too, because it just kind of cleans up my electronic filing system, that type of thing. And so, those are kind of just things I'd see would be very helpful in with automation with AI. I think with that, how that'd free up my team would be just being able to take more cases and being able to kind of just double check, make sure that the AI functions were working properly. Obviously somebody would still have to review that discovery to make sure, like, okay, is this summary actually correct? Maybe you wouldn't have to go through the entire thing. Maybe, if it has minute marks for important events, you could just go to those minute marks and see if what it says is actually, reflected in the video or whatever. And so that'd be one thing, is just my team would being able to review the AI, make sure that's functioning properly, onboarding more clients, being able to spend more time with advertising. I'd say also, a lot of the stuff still use paper files for immigration cases, which seems very old or like mundane, or I don't even know, very archaic. And so a lot of the time they spend is like printing out paper copies to, mail to USCIS. So be able to do more of those types of cases as well. So I feel like I, kind of rambled on there a lot, but I think that's kind of the ideal future for me with AI.
Thank you so much for your insights, Zach. This was absolutely incredibly valuable. Your perspectives were really, really informative, and I really appreciate your time and openness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything you shared on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys for letting me come on here, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.